Right.
So my name is Ori Faran. We're now in the Moshav Shuva in Otef Aza, like about 5 kilometers from Gaza, 4 or 5 kilometers. And you're in the Tallis Man studio, where we make the handmade talit. I grew up in a secular kibbutz, not religious at all, Givat Chaim, Ichud. It's not far from Hedera, Netanya, this area. And after the army and like a trip in India and Europe, I started to. I think I was in some kind of spiritual journey all the time, but then I got into it stronger, and I went to the north, to Rosh Pina, and then Tzfat, and then I started to become more religious in the look and in Torah and mitzvot. And I used to work in a gallery in Tzfat of weaving, and I learned weaving there in Tzfat. I used to work there for 5-6 years. Then I started my own path with the weaving. For me, the Tzitzit is also, for me, it's very connected to the praying. The prayer, for me, praying is one of the really connected me to the praying part of the life of my soul. Well, I was always connected to it, but so it was very like symbolic for me to walk in, to make people, to make other people feel more connected to the talit, and then when you pray, feeling more like hugged, more maybe more connected to Hashem. So this was so for me it's very special. Yeah, I think that it can say that the tzitzit is say like what is the tzitzit from the name. Tzitzit is like someone is metzitz, looking at you. Metzitz min hacharakim. It's supposed to remind you the existence of God when you walk with it. You look at this. Also the Techeles, the Chazal said Techeles is like the sea, and the sea is like the sky, and the sky reminds you of God, of Hashem. When you see that Tzitzit, you remember God. Also in Israel, they say Yenei Hashem Elokecha Ba Kol Hashana. It's the place that Hashem is mostly looking at, Eretz Yisrael. So I think maybe it's one connection, the feeling of the, how do you say, presence of Hashem in our life. In Israel it's stronger, and when you put it talit or the tzitzit, it's also very strong. When you walk in Israel, it's you walk with the whole body, and when you put a talit, you also covered the whole body with the talit. Well, it's part of the Geula, I think. Yeah, it's coming back. The mitzvah, the original mitzvah from the Torah is the Techeles, and people want to make it like it's supposed to be. So I think as the Geula is coming, the Techeles is becoming more and more popular. The talit, the tzitzit, is something you cover with the whole body. You make the mitzvah with all your. It's supposed to like also in Israel, all in Eretz Yisrael, all our life supposed to be one big mitzvah. And I think on the Galut there's like Chazal said, Mi shecharav Beis HaMikdash, after the Beis HaMikdash was how to say charav? Destroyed. Yeah, Beis HaMikdash is destroyed. We only have 4 amot shel halacha. We only have the halacha for us. This is the Chazal, what Chazal said. The Baal Shem Tov said that this is the Galut, that we only have 4 the amot shel halacha. And in Israel, when you come back to Israel, the Geula is coming. You see that the kedusha is in everywhere, not only on the halacha and the Shulchan Aruch. You have to be for on all our life. It has to be one big mitzvah. Also, Techeles is like the tachlit, and from the name of the Tachlit. Techeles is like the Tachlis, and I think as we're coming closer to the Tachlis, the Geula, so the Techeles is becoming more and more popular mitzvah. Yeah. Say that I think when the blessing before the Shema Yisrael, when we take the tzitzit together, the 4 tzitzit, and we say Kabetzenu Yachad Me'arba Kanfot Haaretz, right? Like the 4 corners of the talit. Put it together, and we say like Kabetzenu Yachad. Before the Geula, there should be like a kibbutz Geulot, and every Jew has a part in the Geula. And I think the way to do it is with like Rabbi Nachman said, Ayin Tova, good eye, to see the good thing on everyone, on every Jew, to concentrate on the Nekudat Tova, on the small spot that is pure and good, and that's the way to make the kibbutz Geulot, to make make the Geula faster. Because you see someone who's looking very far from Torah and mitzvot, and very far, maybe he doesn't even like a Jew, but he's Jewish and he has like a very special point, very hidden, special nekudat tova, like his soul is very hidden, but if you concentrate on it, so Rabbi Nachman said that if you see the good spot in him, the nekudat tova, then you actually make him become a better person. And he will start to feel it itself, even if you don't speak with him, just by seeing it and thinking good thing of him, it will make him come closer to his soul and to the Techeles. Yeah. I think one of the things in the Galut that we became like we're only black and white people in the Jewish also the clothes, also the halacha and the mitzvah was black and white, like a little bit. Not colorful, and for me to add like creations and add colors, and for me it's very special to add it to be part of this movement for to make the Jewish tradition more colorful and more happy and more. My blessing is for everyone to see the good spot. I always say nekudat tova, good spot, or good see the good spot for themselves and on the others. So it's the ayin tova.
What is going on, everyone? I hope you enjoyed that video with Ori Perrin, aka the Tallis Man. If you have any interest in buying a tallis or seeing some more of his designs and his beautiful work, you can visit him at www.tallisman.co.il. Ori's doing amazing work, bringing a little more color and a little more character to the beautiful mitzvah of tzitzis. As he said, nowadays, the black and white tallis, in a certain sense, represents the black and white characteristic of the Jewish people that we have got to. We need a little more flavor, a little more color, and a little more Beis HaMikdash, which was a pretty colorful place. Anyway, I want to start by saying this. This trip that I made to Ori, the Tallis Man, I went with my wife and kids. It was completely coincidental, if you believe in coincidence, that we ended up there and we ended up making this video exactly at the same week that Klal Yisrael is doing the Daf Yomi on menachos, on the halachos of wearing tzitzis and Techeles. Now, of course, there's no such thing as coincidence. HaKadosh Baruch Hu timed this perfectly. So I want to talk a bit about the beautiful mitzvah of tzitzis. As a person who's quite involved in helping bring Jews back to Eretz Yisrael, I try to be a bit perceptive to things that are related to the final redemption in the Beis HaMikdash and Eretz Yisrael and the things that are going on right now. And I have found a lot of connections between the mitzvah of tzitzis and specifically Techeles, connections between that and Eretz Yisrael and Kibbutz Galius. Now, some of the things that provoked my thought was, first of all, I noticed that, of course, the Israeli flag was actually created by somebody named David Wolfson, who I don't know his exact background, if he was religious or just traditional, but he definitely was at some level spiritually connected. He was a big part of founding the state of Israel, and he's actually the one that designed the Israel flag. And he said that he designed the Israel flag after the Tallis, the prayer shawl of the Jewish people, which is white with two blue stripes. Not a coincidence. So that provoked my thoughts to make a connection between something going on in Eretz Yisrael, the return of the Jewish people to Eretz Yisrael, the establishment of the state of Israel, which is represented by that flag, and the Techeles, the tzitzis, that the flag was copied after. Another thing I noticed, which I think everyone would notice, is that who are the people that are taking on this mitzvah of Techeles? It seems to be the vast majority of the Jews who are turning back to this beautiful mitzvah and trying to bring back this mitzvah, which is a mitzvah deraisa, are the Jews in Eretz Yisrael. The Jews in Chutz La'aretz tend to be staying away from doing this mitzvah, and of course the mitzvah of living in Eretz Yisrael, and inevitably the hundreds of mitzvahs that come with that. But the Jews in Eretz Yisrael are becoming quite interested in wearing Techeles, and many are, such as myself. And so I found that there was something very redemptive about it, very redemptive about this mitzvah. I also noticed, which I'm sure many of you have, is that, especially since October 7th, with all the soldiers, there have been hundreds of thousands of pairs of tzitzis being given out to even many secular soldiers. There seems to be a very strong connection between Jewish identity and tzitzis and Techeles. You walk down the streets of Israel, go into Tel Aviv even, or other secular cities, and you will find a lot of people, they don't wear yarmulkes, but they will wear tzitzis. So I don't know what it is, but these things caught my attention, and they should catch yours too, that there is something about the mitzvah of tzitzis that Jews seem to connect to long before any other parts of the Torah. So, after thinking about this a bit, I came to realize a few things. First of all, I want to talk about where is the mitzvah of tzitzis in the Torah located. So, it's located in the parsha of Shelach, which is the parsha that talks about the sin of the spies, the Meraglim. Now, I couldn't help but think of quite a number of connections between the two, but I'll just keep it brief. The Meraglim, what exactly did they do? They were told by Moshe Rabbeinu to go scout out, to spy out Eretz Yisrael. Hashem promised the Jewish people he will bring them into Eretz Yisrael, and that is where they will be the Jewish nation, and that is where they are going to keep the Torah. Now, these rabbis, these leaders, these Jewish folk called the Meraglim, they went in there. They were holy people, they were smart people, but they saw some things they didn't like, they saw some things they were scared of, and they made a decision, we're going to keep Hashem's Torah, we're going to listen to Hashem, we're going to connect Hashem, but this one seems a bit difficult. They were big people, giants, warriors in Eretz Yisrael, and they took matters into their own hand and they said, hey, this mitzvah we don't need. Now, I can't help but feel something similar to Techeles. There have been many people who have done an immense amount of research, archaeological research, halachic research, historical research, and scientific research as to what the correct fish is. That is the chilazon fish, the fish that we extract the blue dye from. Specifically, Rabbi Herzog, the first, I believe he was the first chief rabbi of Israel. He spent his life dedicated to trying to find what fish this is. And he found that it was a fish called the Murex trunculus, which is actually a snail. And this is it right here. This is the shell of a Murex trunculus. There was an immense amount of research. We'll get into that a little bit soon, but this is what they found was the correct and closest thing to the descriptions in the Gemara and the Torah as to what the correct fish is for, that is the chalazon. Now, who took to this mitzvah? The Jews in Eretz Yisrael. Seem to be wearing the Techeles and taking to this mitzvah. There's the Jews here in Eretz Yisrael who really want to bring back all the mitzvos. We want to live in Eretz Yisrael, which is the only place we can perform all the mitzvos of the Torah and inevitably build the Beis HaMikdash. Not so much the Jews in Chutz La'aretz who seem to want to stay away from bringing back many of the mitzvos in the Torah. Specifically Eretz Yisrael, anything related to the Beis HaMikdash, the Har Bayis, and they are staying away from Techeles. Now, I don't think this is a coincidence. And that is exactly what the Meraglim did. They said, hey, we want to serve Hashem, but we're gonna keep the mitzvos that seem reasonable to us, and the mitzvah of living in Eretz Yisrael, coming into Eretz Yisrael, conquering Eretz Yisrael, seems a bit too dangerous and outrageous to us, therefore we won't do it. And something very similar with Techeles. We bring back Techeles. There is a lot of really solid evidence that this is the correct fish, and the Jews in the exile decide, hey, this mitzvah is not for me. We're good. We're going to keep it status quo. We're in the midbar. We don't need all these extra mitzvos. We'll just keep the things we've been doing till now, and we're not going to move forward. Now, that's the connection between the mitzvah of Techeles and the story of the Meraglim. And it's, again, not a coincidence that they share the same parsha. Now, after the mitzvah of tzitzis is given over in Parsha Shalach, the very next parsha is the story of Korah. So the mitzvah of tzitzis is sandwiched in between the story of the Meraglim and the story of Korah. Now, I could not help but find multiple connections between the story of Korah and the mitzvah of Techeles and tzitzis. Now, I'll just explain like this. There's a medrash that explains that when Korah challenged Moshe Rabbeinu, Korah says to Moshe Rabbeinu, what if somebody has an entire beged, an entire article of clothing that is completely made of Techeles? Does he still need to attach Techeles to it? Moshe Rabbeinu said, yes, this is a commandment from Hashem. And Hashem said, no matter what color the garment is, if it has four corners, it needs tzitzis with Techeles. So Korach's argument, trying to disprove Moshe and inevitably trying to disprove the mitzvos in the Torah during his rebellion, he said back to Moshe Rabbeinu, you see how ridiculous that is? If we have an entire garment that's made of Techeles, isn't it ridiculous that we need that little blue string to fulfill this mitzvah of being reminded of Hashem and the throne of glory and the 613 mitzvos? I could not help but feel that there was a very strong connection between this ideology and what's going on in the exile in America. The Jews in America say, we have Lakewood, we have Brooklyn, we have these places, these cities of Torah. We can perform so many mitzvos here. We're doing so well. Sort of like a beged that is completely Techeles blue. We have everything we need. We have the Torah in Chutz La'aretz. So why do we need this one little mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael? We're good. We're doing great here. We have so much Torah. Why would we need this little mitzvah of Eretz Yisrael? And that was really Korach's argument. The fact is, we don't get to decide which mitzvos we do and which mitzvos we don't do. And that is exactly actually what tzitzis represents. Tzitzis is supposed to remind us of the 613 mitzvos, that every single one of them applies to all of the Jewish people. Now, granted, not every Jew can perform every single mitzvah, but we are meant to uphold and make sure every one of those mitzvos are done by the correct people at the correct times, in the correct places. And it just so happens to be that the mitzvah of Techeles applies to all Jews. So these are some of the very interesting connections that I found between where the mitzvah of tzitzis is placed in the Torah. Now, the halachic background behind the mitzvah of tzitzis I also find very much resembles a big part of the ideology of the exile Jew. With the mitzvah of tzitzis, we're told the mitzvah of tzitzis can be performed without Techeles if you don't have it, which is why we, nowadays, many Jews, wear only the white, and for many generations have worn only the white strings without the blue string of Techeles. Because technically, although the correct way to fulfill the mitzvah is with Techeles, and if you have Techeles, you must put it on, but if you don't have Techeles, it does not nullify the mitzvah. Now, that's something similar to the ideology behind Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. We know that the correct way to perform the mitzvos is in Eretz Yisrael. It's the only place that we can truly serve Hashem. But if you cannot get to Eretz Yisrael, you can technically perform the mitzvos outside of Eretz Yisrael. Do they count? Do they not count? I don't want to get into that right here, but the fact is, we agree that whether you're in Eretz Yisrael or not, you should still perform all of the mitzvahs. You must still perform all of the mitzvos in the Torah, but with Eretz Yisrael is the correct way. Now, again, the Jews in Eretz Yisrael seem to be building a strong connection to the mitzvah of Techeles. And the Jews outside of Eretz Yisrael, the Jews in the exile, the Jews who have the mentality that, hey, why do I need Eretz Yisrael? I can technically perform the mitzvahs outside of Eretz Yisrael. That's the same ideology that says, hey, I've got white strings, I don't really need the blue strings. The entire existence of the exile Jew is b'di'evid. It is not the correct way to serve Hashem. Technically, it's passable, but definitely not l'chatchila, definitely not the correct way of doing it, the optimal way of doing it. Now, we know when it comes to the mitzvah of Techeles, how it works is, if we have the correct animal, we must fulfill the mitzvah. We are only patur from this mitzvah of wearing Techeles if we don't know which the animal is. Now, there are videos and a lot of articles that have been written on the research proving which animal is the correct animal and trying to prove that the Murex trunculus is the correct animal, that is the chilazon. Now, I'm not going to get into everything here. I will post in the description below many places that you can find out more information on the research done and the proofs to and against if the Murex trunculus is the chilazon fish. But the one thing I will say, just to provoke some of your thought, is first of all, has anyone actually done the research? Meaning, I have read many articles and done quite a bit of research as to what is the chilazon fish, and I have come out that I would prefer to wear Techeles and attempt to perform this great and unbelievable mitzvah. We have everything to gain, nothing to lose. You do not violate any commandments if you put on Techeles on your tzitzis, and it just so happens to be the wrong one. But if it's the correct one, you only have what to gain. You are fulfilling a mitzvah d'oraisa, okay, a mitzvah in the Torah in the correct way. What do you have to lose? Now, in regards to what is the correct fish, so, what is the chilazon fish? Now, I'm not going to get into it right here. Okay, I'm going to put in the description of this video, in the YouTube description below. I'm going to put in a lot of websites and videos and resources that you can use to find out if this is the correct fish, and to find out what you so choose. But I will tell you that what we do know is that if we have the correct fish, we must wear the Techeles. We are only technically potter from wearing the Techeles on our tzitzis if we do not have the correct fish. Again, it is beyond the scope of this video to cover as to the proofs and disproofs of the Murex trunculus. But what I will tell you, and this is something that to me was a very strong proof, is that a lot of archaeological evidence has shown that they have found places that they dyed wool thousands of years ago in biblical times. And many of these places that they found were actually filled with shells of this exact snail. So it seems pretty clear from archaeology. Now, I know some people like to say we don't use archaeology to prove any halachos, but again, this is not a matter of proving a halacha. This is for our own brains, for us to be able to use our heads and to be able to decide, should we or should we not wear this Techeles? And if they have found archaeological findings that the places that they used to dye wool thousands of years ago, and those places had exactly this fish, I think right off the bat, that's a very strong proof that we probably got the right fish. Nothing is for certain, but again, why not do everything we can to try to fulfill all the mitzvos in the Torah? And again, when it comes to Techeles, I find it's very similar to what I find with the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael and things like going up to the Har HaBayis. Even though these are extremely great things, and of course the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael is one of the greatest mitzvahs in the Torah, Jews would prefer to just simply say, I don't know, than to actually do any research into performing more mitzvos, and specifically the mitzvos that are related to the Geula, the mitzvos that are the final mitzvos in order to usher in the final age of redemption, the era that we have been hoping and praying for thousands of years. I want to end like this, though. On one hand, people say, even if you do the research, you're going to find rabbis for Techeles, rabbis against Techeles. Well, everyone agrees we should be wearing Techeles, but the question is, did we find the right fish or not? I would suggest everyone gets educated. Everyone do your research when it comes to this mitzvah, and when it comes to the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, and when it comes to the mitzvah of going on to the Har HaBayis, and when it comes to the mitzvah of building the Beis HaMikdash. People are completely and utterly ignorant to these mitzvahs, and they will care to do zero research. But the great news is you don't even have to do that much research or learn that many svarim. There are so many great websites and resources to be able to be fed the information clearly and simply. Again, I will put links to these websites in the description below. Now, you might ask, well, the Rabbanim didn't tell us to wear Techeles. It's true. It hasn't come out that we should all wear Techeles just yet, but there are more rabbis than you think who have worn and do wear Techeles. Unfortunately, I myself have met rabbis and prominent people who wear Techeles, but they do not want to speak about it publicly. The same reason many rabbis don't want to speak about Eretz Yisrael publicly, because apparently some of the mitzvos in the Torah have become controversial. Now, I think this is completely and utterly wrong. Every single mitzvah in the Torah should be spoken about publicly. Rabbis and Jews should be very public about the truth of the Torah, about performing the mitzvahs in the Torah. And I think it's very sad that we live in a generation where there is mitzvahs that we have deemed controversial and whole sections of the Torah that we have deemed controversial, and therefore we do not talk about it in public. It's crazy. But among some of the more famous people that have recently passed away, so we can say their names, Rav Yisrael Belsky. He was the previous Rosh Hashiva of Torah Das, a pretty prominent, well-known rabbi. He wore Techeles. That's a fact. A rabbi that I had a relationship with, Rav Gissinger from Lakewood, who passed away a few years ago, he too wore Techeles. Now, most of these rabbis wore it. They tucked it in. They didn't want to publicly display it, but they did, in fact, wear Techeles. Some of the websites that you can check out on the descriptions below, you can see many more rabbis who wear or have worn Techeles and felt it was the correct thing to do. So get educated. Now, I want to end with a little bit of a Kabbalistic point. You see, you have in Kabbalah, the color blue, Techeles, represents the sphera. It's a Kabbalistic idea, the sphera of Malchut, kingship, royalty. And again, I don't think that's a coincidence that those Jews those of us who have returned to Eretz Yisrael, we want to build the Beis HaMikdash. We want to take on the royal, majestic mission of being the priests unto God. We are having a connection and a desire to wear the blue threads, the blue that represents royalty, that represents malchus, as opposed to the Jews in the exile who tend to want to shy away from anything that is majestic or royal and prefer to live a defensive, lower existence where everyone is a threat and the Jewish people are victims, and we must beg and hope for better times and do not take the majestic and royal mission that we have been given into our own hands. But I would suggest everyone gets on board with the mission of malchus, of kingship. It's a good team to be on. Now, the final point I wanted to say, which I think is very powerful, very important to keep in mind, is many people will say the reason that, and this is even something that Rav Chaim Kanievsky has said, and many people have stated this idea, that even with all the research and archaeological evidence and halachic proofs and scientific proofs, we will never put on Techeles because we are told, the Exile speaks about this, Kabbalah speaks about this, and other great rabbis have spoken about this, that the mitzvah of Techeles will only come back in the times of Mashiach, in the Geula times, the times preceding the Mashiach. And therefore, until those times come, we will not find the correct fish, we will not find the Techeles, and we will never be sure as to what it is. Now, I would like to suggest, at looking at the situation, the complete opposite way. People look at it, again, this is a very exile mentality. We are not in the times of the Geula, therefore we don't have the Techeles. I would like to suggest, maybe the fact that we did find the Techeles, maybe that's proof that we are in the times of the Geula, and that this is the correct fish. Again, a completely different mentality, but really a perfect example as to the thought process of Jews in the exile and the thought process of many of the Jews here in Eretz Yisrael. In exile, the mentality is, don't take on anything new. Don't take on anything old. Let's stay away from a lot of the mitzvos. Let's stay away from Eretz Yisrael. Let's stay away from the Beis HaMikdash. Let's stay away from the Har HaBayis. Let's stay away from Geula. Let's lay low. Keep things status quo. Yes, we have some mitzvos. We don't need the rest. Let's just keep hoping and praying for a better future. But those of us in Eretz Yisrael who appreciate the malchus, we appreciate the royalty, we appreciate the unbelievable mission that we have been given, we look at this mitzvah, we look at things in the light of, this is the times of the Geula. The things taking place in Eretz Yisrael, it is the Kibbutz Goliath. It is the beginning of the final redemption. And therefore we must act as such. And things like Techeles, it is perfectly reasonable to understand and see how we have been able to rediscover, and Hashem has given us the opportunity to find the chilazan fish. With the help, again, of some great rabbis such as Rav Herzog, we have been able to rediscover this fish because we are in the days of the Geula, and we will be able to build the Beis HaMikdash very soon. It really all comes down to your mindset. Do you want to be an exile Jew, or do you want to be a redemptive Jew? I would suggest the latter. Now, like I said, if you guys want to find out more, if you want to get educated, if you want to get educated on Eretz Yisrael, watch more of my videos. If you want to get educated on the Har HaBayis and the Beis HaMikdash, you can check out my videos. You can check out beishashem.org and some other websites that I have affiliated websites on Homeboundisrael.com. And we're going to put a bunch of resources in the description of this YouTube video that you can use to find out a lot more about Techeles. Please get educated. Ignorant Jews are weak Jews. Get out of the exile mentality. Get into the redemptive mentality, want the Beis HaMikdash, want to be a light into the nations, and if you want it, we will have it. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Good luck out there. If you're learning Daf Yomi, good luck out there. Enjoy it. Take it to heart. Don't look at Techeles as an ancient tradition, but as a standard modern-day mitzvah that should and must be performed. And if we have a fish that we have a lot of really good proofs is the chilazon, why not do it? Why not simply want to do more mitzvos? I don't get it. If you enjoy this video, if you enjoy my videos, if you enjoy our work, please, I suggest, go to Homeboundisrael.com, partner with us, make a donation. We really need it. We want to make more videos. I've got a lot of documentaries in the work, and our work is growing fast. This is a full-time job for me at this point, and I heavily rely on your donations in order to keep spreading the message, in order to keep helping people get to Eretz Yisrael. And we have a lot of amazing things in the work, and we will not stop until we have that Beis HaMikdash built. That I can guarantee. With that being said, please, if you want to be part of this amazing schos, go to the website, donate, share these videos. It's a big deal. You got to share these videos. People are not going to see them if you don't share them, so share these videos. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And guys, chazak ve'ematz, be strong and courageous. Get yourself some Techeles. Have an urge to build a Beis HaMikdash. Come to Eretz Yisrael. Be part of this movement. The movement that our Nevi'im, that our Torah talks about more than anything else. Be part of it. Get involved. Make Hashem's name great. Chazak ve'ematz. We will see you guys in the next one.